back to another episode of the One Take Livecast. Joining me are Rachel Stamp, and we're going to be talking about the re-release of their album, Hymns for the Strange Children, courtesy of Easy Action Records. We'll talk about the songs, the re-release, the LP, the CD, and what's been fun about re-releasing it again. We'll also talk about their upcoming gig at the O2 Academy in Islington, featuring Rich Reagany and the Digressions. Let's invite them in now. Good afternoon, David, Will, how are you both doing?
Hello, we're all right. Yeah, we're having a very pleasant Sunday afternoon.
It is a
And we're
very
looking forward
pleasant
to talking
Sunday.
to you.
Welcome back, Will. Nice to have you back.
Cheers. Good to be back.
And pleased to meet you, David.
Nice to meet you too. Thanks very much for having us on the show.
Good. So, first of all, my first question is, how are you feeling? Because it has been 23 years since the album debut itself.
Is it 23 years? Wow. I feel too old to answer that question. I need to put different teeth in, I think. Well, it's amazing. And it looks like more people are going to hear the album now than they did back then at this point, because there's been a lot of interest in this reissue. And we're really pleased with the whole package and all that. We're going to do an unboxing a bit later, actually, and show everyone what it's going to look like. So yeah, feels good. Does it feel good to you?
Yeah, it is quite a strange thing having it come out all this time. I feel like I've sort of been in a time machine because I prepared all the audio for the album release and had to listen to it again quite intensely, and noticed some things that I'd kind of forgotten about on there. It was quite a strange record for us because we had, I don't know whether people are aware, but the album is kind of like a mixture of different things. There was a few singles that we had already released. A B-side, I think, Pink Scab was a B-side. And then some new songs that were recorded in a very intense, short period of time. And that made the album. So it was, at the time, I think it was, the album was, I don't know, was it like a compromise, sort of, I guess, in some ways? But we needed to put an album out, so that's what it was.
Yeah, compared to because we actually recorded a whole album before that for Warner Brothers, and that was a bit more kind of like we're going in to record an album, and it was kind of done with that intent, whereas this one was kind of just the live stuff that we were playing at that point, really, wasn't it, I think?
Yeah, it's pretty much like the live set at the time, and it was recorded very much like a live set, which is why all the songs are really fast on there. So,
yeah,
perhaps faster than they would have been.
Would have been 10 minutes longer if we'd done it at the right speed, I think.
Yeah, but people like it, so that's the important thing.
People like fast.
That the the fans at the time really liked it, and that's obviously the only people to please are the fans.
And we are people pleasers.
Yeah.
You can say anything about us, but that's the one thing that's true. We are people pleasers.
Yeah.
Is it gratifying in a way, but because of channels like YouTube and of course introducing a new generation to this music and also to the band itself, is there like a sort of fun thrill for that as well? So they can go back and watch your videos live and music videos and songs and check them out on YouTube, as well as buying the LP, sorry.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see what people make of it, because something I find really interesting about it is that, it's interesting that you say it came out 23 years ago originally, because I think it doesn't sound like a record that's 23 years old, and I think the way that we looked is strangely current. Even though it's 23 years ago, I often walk down the street and see people with kind of, green hair in bunches and stuff drawn on their faces, and I'm sort of looking at them a bit like, wow, have they any idea about Rachel Stamp, or is it just strange sort of coincidence that this is happening, that people are are embracing looking alien again. I don't know. So, but it's going to be
Yeah,
exciting to see what people think and how people do relate to it.
yeah, because obviously, well, stripy socks over your knees never went out in fashion and everything, or people with lots of dyed hair. But it's nice for like possibly people who are turning like in their 20s and or like teenagers from the 2000s era are like in an olden age now, and they could go back and listen to bands that debuted their albums at the time. So it's nice. So in a way, it's kind of like you said, you've gone back in time, released it, but there's all this extra technology and extra platform to show it off now and everything. Especially
Mm.
like me, like I when I found about Will, I went back and did some research. I watched the music videos, I listened, and I was like, why wasn't I introduced? Obviously as a kid, I was a kid back then. Sorry guys, but it's nice to feel. It felt so fresh listening to it. And speaking of tracks on the album, I mean the personal favorite video and track I love. I Want to Be Your Doll. I love it.
Well, thank you. That's very kind.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best recordings on there, actually, if I remember rightly. Came out really well, that, didn't it? And that was kind of a one-off thing, wasn't it? Like we were saying, it was kind of a bit fragmented, the recording. That was literally, I think we went in and recorded that.
We did, yeah. That was the first time we'd worked on a song from scratch with John Fryer, the producer.
Yeah.
Because he had mixed I Got the Worm, which we had basically produced ourselves, and then he mixed it, and then we went in with him to record that song. So there was his kind of perspective on it, and yeah, I think that's quite an interesting song because it's almost like if you were to ask somebody what does Rachel Stamp sound like, I think you could play that song, and it's got pretty much every element of of our sound in that one song.
Mixed authenticity, I always call it. When someone says to me, what do they sound like? And I say mixed weird authenticity, and it's bloody brilliant.
Oh wow, well thank you.
It's nice to sort of have your own sound. I mean, there are many genres, but I think me and Will talked about this last year, but to like mix stuff and have a bit of this and a bit of that, it's nice to have a bit of variety.
Yeah, well, I think one of the things that we always wanted to do was get our own sound and not really, obviously we were influenced by a lot of different things, but we tended to, I think when we first met, one of the things that we realised that we both liked quite odd bands, like with the bands like Pursuit of Happiness and the Nymphs and Red Cross. We both really like Prince and bands like Devo, a lot of like strange American
Cramps.
even people like Laurie Anderson, who had that hit single "Oh Superman." There was things like that we were just aware of, and that would creep in much more than it was
much more than straight rock bands, I guess.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But then we sort of put it into this kind of loud guitar, bombastic band, all those influences, all those kind of quirky influences. So I guess, yeah, that mix of all those styles created something that was pretty unique.
Yeah, and I think sort of sonically it was, I think the way that Will plays guitar is very individual style. It's not like a sort of regular kind of rock thing. And I guess the tone of my voice is quite unusual. I can't help. I just sound like the way.
That's it. I mean, that's such an important part of the sound is your voice, and it's like, and nothing. I don't think anyone else sounds like that, apart from George Michael.
Apart from George Michael, of course.
But if he was singing "I Want to Be Your Doll," it wouldn't sound anything like a George Michael song, obviously. So that's why it's very individual.
Yeah.
I think that's, and as long as it's great to be a people pleaser for fans, but it's also good to just produce your own sound and just get a buzz off it and everything. It's like when you were obviously getting the album produced and recording it and going through all the the technical and the instrumental and everything. That must have been like a rewarding process back in the day. I mean, obviously it had its challenges, but is it to re-release it as well? Because it is special. Sometimes your first is always special. And what are you finding it special now as when you found it special back then?
I think that it's always exciting when you know essentially think of something and it manifests itself in the real world. In this case, I think the particular exciting thing is the fact that this album is coming out on vinyl is very exciting, because I've always had a record player. I've got a big, I wouldn't even call it a collection, I just buy music on vinyl generally.
I love vinyl.
I always have done. And so that's exciting. And Rachel Stamp did release some vinyl, but none of the albums actually came out on vinyl. So,
yeah, why didn't it come out on vinyl back then?
I think at the time, vinyl was being phased out, It was CD, it was very much the age of the CD.
But the stuff before that was all on vinyl, wasn't it? And it was pretty much dead around that point as well in the 90s. So.
But I think when we were signed to Warner Brothers,
Warner
we just said to them, "You've got some money, put this out on vinyl," and they were like, "Really?" I mean, we even put out a cassette single on vinyl.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Which nobody was really doing. But so yeah, it's fascinating, and it is exciting. It's good to go back and listen to it, because one of the things when I was doing the audio for it was, I think I liked it a lot more than I liked it at the time, because when you've just made something, all you hear is the bits that you would do differently. But this time, I was listening back, going, "Wow, this is actually, it's a really interesting record, and sonically, it's quite weird." I think the mixture of the guitars and the synthesizers, and all the kind of crazy high energy drumming on there, and it's everybody really contributed to that sound, and it really made for this unique sonic experience. So does that answer the question? I'm not sure.
Absolutely.
What was the question?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But also, like you said, vinyl has kind of it's made a comeback, because sometimes good things appreciate it. But the good thing about the new vinyl releases, especially for record collectors or people that just love playing records to CDs, it's the feeling you're going to get. You're going to hold this lovely vinyl in your hand, the front cover, the back cover, and then as soon as you open it, you can smell and pull out this lovely record. And then the thing I get joy out of, listening to records, is when you place it on, you turn everything on, and as soon as that pin hits that vinyl, there's like a really good satisfaction or sound to it and everything. So it's nice, because obviously, CDs and cassettes are great, but there's just something about vinyl which, I don't know, it's godly, in my opinion.
Well, I think there's a really because obviously, I mean, I'm always to this day still amazed that you can take a bit of plastic, put it on a thing that spins round, put the tone arm on it, and this sound comes out. I mean, it's still just it's crazy. It is like magic. And I think there's a certain because of the way that the sound is produced, it's like you're essentially sending an electrical impulse to the speakers, and it wobbles the air, and it sounds. You hear this stuff.
And you hear those little bits.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things, because part of the process of doing vinyl is they send you a test pressing which you have to approve, and I was really impressed at how it sounds really great on vinyl, and through some strange magic, certain frequencies jump out on vinyl more than they would on the digital version, and it's you sort of hear things that that you perhaps wouldn't have heard the first time around. So it's very exciting that it's coming out this way.
And well, on CD, it's good to listen to in the car as well.
Yeah, convenience.
And you get a sticker as well, don't you, with the CD?
I think so. Yeah. So essentially, the label that's putting it out, Easy Action, they've done a thing with the pre-orders where the first 100 people to order get extra stuff with incentive. yeah, it's just something small, but a fun, nice thing to have for the same
Yeah.
price with something extra. So
Mm. Well, the sticker's going to work, whether you put it as a bumper sticker on your car, on your wall, or even, well, what's the good thing about record players is, like, some of them sticker bomb like crazy, so that's going to be fun.
Oh, that's true.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, or some of them might put them on their guitars, so that's pretty cool as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's going to be an interesting thing as well, because it's nice when musicians, hear other bands, and like when you were learning guitar, you were probably playing this and listening to this. So it's probably going to be fun, like watching the YouTube. They get the album or they listen to it via CD, and they start, playing your style or your tunes on the thing. So that's going to be fun. There's just something good about re-releasing to a new generation. It's kind of like, in a way, being a mother again.
Yeah, I guess so. Or a grandmother.
Uh, no.
Because it's like another generation again. So there you go. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how people react to it and what people think. And, what do you think of that? What do you think of people learning your guitar parts?
Good luck, because I need to learn them now. So maybe they can help me, because we've got a gig coming up.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Yeah, I'm always really surprised when people pick up on stuff like that, and yeah, even to this day, it's very very cool to hear that people are repeating what you've done, and using it to their own advantage.
And of course, you've got a gig coming up at the O2 Academy in Islington with Rich Reganey and the Digressions. Can you talk more about that, please?
Well, that's coming. That's coming out. We're playing on the same day as the vinyl and CD are coming out, and that's the 14th of April in Islington at the Academy, the O2 Academy. Tickets still available, just. And yeah, Rich Raggedy's supporting. Rich Raggedy.
Yeah, so I've done. I
Yeah.
did a gig last year with my solo band, and Rich and his band were on the same bill, and they're just really great, and really great musicians, great songs, and really cool people. So I think it's going to be a really good, a good bill for people to come and see. They're different enough from Rachel Stamp for it to be a good complementary experience.
We're just working out the set list actually today, so
yeah, we're going to decide what songs we're going to play.
Everyone's got any requests?
Speak to you.
We'll
Oh,
look at
please
your
play
requests.
Doll.
Sorry?
Please play Doll.
Yeah, we're probably going to play that one. So.
Yeah, it's a staple.
I like it. I'm sorry, I'm biased. I really like it.
Okay, I'll have to get someone to give me the tabs for the solo.
Yeah, yeah, it's quite fun doing the songs live because we would sometimes the arrangements would change very slightly from the records,
Slightly.
Well, sometimes quite a lot, but it's just the individual parts, because obviously on a record you can multi-track. So often what I would find just with the bass guitar was in the studio I just play kind of single notes, but when I play live I play much more like It's funny when people talk about influences. One of the biggest influences on bass for me was Lemmy from Motorhead, because he would play this style with chords.
Did you have to say from Motorhead?
Well, I'm sure. I don't know. Yeah, a man who needs no sure. So I would be really into. When I was a kid, the Ace of Spades album came out, and they were on TV quite a lot, and I noticed the way he was playing with these 2-note chords, and I incorporated that when we played live, because it kind of fills out more sound and.
Well, that's it, because
stuff,
there's only one guitar, obviously, and I can't double track on stage. So so David fills in the.
So I would do a lot of that, and then Sheena would cover a lot of the low end with synthesizer bass, so you get all this kind of sub bass coming out, and really we that's sort of different to the records. Really, it is a different thing. So,
it's a different animal.
Yeah.
Different beast.
Yes.
Someone said play Brand New Toy there, so yeah, I'm sure we'll do that.
yes, we probably will play Brand New Toys. So.
Mm.
Yeah. Um, it's kind of cool that the record is pink. I mean, there's so many black records or records things. I mean, it's kind of cool to give it like a nice sort of pink look and everything. Was that just to go with because the cover of the album looks kind of nice and that? I was like, oh, let's go for a pink record, or was this like, no, we're doing a pink record?
I think, well, a lot of that was down to the record label. They, wanted a certain sort of, because originally we were going to, there was some discussion about how we would release everything. At one point it was just going to be like a compilation album of different things, and then we decided to just do the album, and it looks very likely that Easy Action, the same label, are going to release Oceans of Venus early next year. So we work very closely with an artist called Jeff Conway, who's known as Pushing Normal. And we've worked with him for ages on Rachel Stamp stuff. And he has a great style. And really the new cover is his reimagining of the initial artwork. Because the initial artwork was quite odd. I remember when the album first came out, it was the color scheme was really strange on it.
Green, orange, thermal in a way.
It was what, sorry?
Thermal in a way.
I guess so, yeah. And it was odd, and then it got re-released with like the white cover, and then so we wanted to do like another one. And to my way of thinking, the new cover that Jeff has done is the best of all of the different covers. And so I guess that and the label were very much into we want bright colors and we want this to look like the thing they liked about Rachel Stamp was that the look at that time was a lot of people often compare it to manga. I'm not sure whether that's strictly the thing that it looks like, but it's very a lot of bright colors and pink vinyl.
Yeah,
a Rachel Stamp record should be on pink vinyl or green vinyl or something. It should be on one of those.
It is
just
quite
as an object,
Yeah, I did kind of think, kind of manga and everything, which is really cool because manga is an aesthetic itself. But yeah, nevertheless, it's cool. It's good to listen to. It's good to frame, and it just But also going back, for the first time, what made you go for the idea "Hymns for the Strange Children" for the title?
Well, there's so I think going back to that period in time, which is the mid to late 90s when the band first started, it was very, because you're talking pre-social media, just, and I think look in a certain way, it took a lot of nerve to walk around the streets looking like we did and like our fans did, it wasn't easy.
Mm.
And sadly we still hear about people getting attacked because of the way they look, and people were really, if you looked unusual, you were definitely treated like a sort of freak and an outcast.
Mm.
And it could be dangerous, really dangerous, walking around looking like that, and people forget that. And the gig's very much a place where people could feel safe, and we were had open arms for all the people that wanted to come in, and it really was kind of the music we were playing appealed to people that didn't really want to be in the mainstream. It was literally strange children. So, and I was like the religious aspect of rock music. So I do think there's something religious about, especially heavy.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a joke on the the Messiah complex of lead singers as well, I think. And
But creating
so Hymns to Strange Children seemed like the right thing.
It seemed better than Rachel Stamp Superstar.
Yeah.
but creating a congregation, and also it's kind of cool because hymns the straight and like you said thing, but creating a congregation, like you said, where they feel safe. So it was more than possibly an audience or fans that are coming to see you. It is kind of like a congregation as well, and especially with the new generation, you can have a new congregation as well. But also speaking of longevity as well. I mean, next year the band is 30 years old. That is, awesome and
Wow.
everything. How do you feel about, being, of
Really?
this
Can't believe
longevity?
really.
Yeah,
How do you feel
1994.
about that? Is it 30 years?
1994.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, that's
Yeah.
30 years.
Wow.
Well,
That's
that is a
quite
bomb.
weird.
The bomb's gone off now.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
yeah, it seems like 30. It does seem like 30 years ago. A lot of people say, "Oh, it just seems like yesterday" when they're thinking of decades ago. But personally, I'm like, yeah, that probably was 30 years ago when I first met David. From a Melody Maker advert.
Yeah.
Because that just seems like another. Even just saying that from a Melody Maker advert just seems like another age. Yeah. Um, Puts perspective on things, though, doesn't it?
Too much
Too
perspective.
much. But
No, it's
Yeah.
great
Thanks
to
for that,
see.
isn't it?
No, I
sorry.
think it's great to celebrate, 3 decades of, fun music. Own it. That's what I say.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I'm joking when I say I don't like to be reminded.
I
Obviously,
know, I know.
it's but it is an unusual thing. I think. Yeah, but I've been doing music my whole life. I was in my first band when I was like 13 or something. So, it's great. I feel really blessed to have had a life based around music. So, which I really love. So,
I mean, it's great, like I said, for years. I mean, also respectfully, it's nice that you go and do your own respected projects as well. But it's just nice to, get the band back together and have some fun, really.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and it's interesting. I think whenever we play, we're all always, it sounds really good whenever the four of us play together. Even, we almost joke that we don't need to rehearse because it's almost like the first run through we do sounds,
Better than the second one.
yeah, better than the gig. So,
Yeah, I think that in that way it does feel like not. It doesn't feel as long ago. When we're actually playing together, it all just comes together. I've heard a lot of bands say that though. A lot of bands that haven't played with each other for decades and they get together and it's just like they never left the rehearsal room. So yeah, in that way it's very does seem like yesterday. But when you actually think about all the kind of situations we were in, the studios we were in, the gigs we played, it definitely feels like 3 decades ago to me.
yeah.
Definitely feels like a 30-year-old person could have been brought up and be going out to work by now. To me. But we were 12 at the time.
Yeah.
Going back to what you said, obviously at that time, no social media, no things, and obviously if you looked like this or if you wear anything, you'd get bashed or bullied or anything. With the time, obviously that still happens, but it's sort of now there's a bit more openness to people what they want to wear, if they want to wear makeup, if they want to paint their nails, and everything. And introducing to like the new generation that wants to do and they see, your band for the first time, it's going to be like, I still want to be this way, I think. I mean, it's nice that, back then it was good influence for people trying to find their identity, trying to find their own, appearance and trying to find out who they are. And music is a great key for that. So what's it like, sort of like, because in the music videos, you all look stunning, by the way, and everything. So what's it like to tell the new generation it's fine to be this way?
Well, yeah, no, I mean, when we started, it was very, like I say, we wanted to be a rock band, and we did start getting into magazines like Kerrang and all that. But yeah, it was very unusual for a rock band to look in any way kind of, androgynous,
Great.
or for want of a better
Yeah.
word, I guess, at that point. But cut forward to a couple of years, and people like Korn are wearing eyeliner and nail varnish, and it's kind of crossing over with the whole goth thing, I guess, you know. So yeah, it was kind of like we kind of straddled both sides of it. But yeah, I think I mentioned Korn because we did actually support Korn, and I don't think they had particularly gone that way at that point, because we kind of stuck out like a sore thumb. And if you look at the footage on YouTube, it's kind of a barrage of
that was quite
barrage
fun.
of cans and stuff, you know, at
Yeah.
the London Astoria. But yeah, no, the other bands, you know, there were bands like Metallica started wearing eyeliner and all that. But this was, yeah, it was. We were doing it a couple of years before that. Not that I'm saying that we were the first band to, you know, have that kind of look, but at that point in the '90s, it was very much about Britpop, and all the metal bands were kind of very.
Yeah, it was either like bands
dressing down, really, you know, because that was like the end of grunge as well, wasn't it? You know.
Yeah, there was a lot of sort of, you know, kind of the grunge thing was, you know, t-shirts and jeans, or like, you know, shorts, you know, the skate look, I guess it was.
Lumberjack shirt.
And then, that sort of thing. And really, at the time when we were doing what we were doing, there was, you know, it was
us and Babylon Zoo, basically.
Yeah. You know, and then obviously, like, within that time, you had people like, you know, in America, Marilyn Manson was starting.
Yeah.
But we'd never heard of him when we started the band, you know, and he was much more like, he had more of a traditional. When I looked at his band, I always thought they looked like alien sex fiends, you know, and obviously in London as well, you know, you had the guys in Placebo doing their thing. But again, when we first started, we were not aware of them at all, you know, and they weren't aware of us, I'm sure. But I think the way that we looked, we took it very much to an extreme. You know, we would, you know, we wouldn't really wear clothes that you could buy. We would either, you know, I had a friend who used to make all my clothes, and used to make a lot of your own stage costumes and stuff, and it was, you know, we were doing our own thing, creating our own thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, obviously we had our influences. We were influenced by people like, you know, Mark Bolan, and we've got a Fuzzbox and we're going to use it. I always loved what they look like, you know. And I probably got the idea of painting on my face from, you know, Vix from Fuzzbox would paint birds and stars.
The blue hair with the plaits
and all that. So that was definitely an influence. Sorry?
The blue hair with the plaits, that was really cool.
Yeah, you know, so it was things like that, and you know, we always obviously liked, you know, Adam Ant, and you know, I always loved Pete Burns, just bands that were, you know, and Prince, of course. Prince was a huge influence on us.
Yeah, the New York Dolls, the Cramps.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I was aware of the Cramps, but I didn't know their records really. I understand at the time. Although I do like what I've heard of the Cramps, but that wasn't really on my radar so much. So.
No, but what's going to be good, like in this area, because it's kind of, you know, having an alternative fashion is pretty much more mainstream now. But it's going to really, I think, you know, seeing shows like, if they could see your show back then as well as they're going to see it now, it would help a lot. Like you said, Hymns for the Strange Children is kind of also what I listen to it, and what I think from a, you know, really deep thought kind of view, it's kind of, it's a very cathartic sort of album for people trying to find their self-esteem, or I don't know. I mean, you can just listen to it, which is just fun and bang your head enjoying this beautiful sound as well. But lyrically, but also, you know, the title, I find it very self-esteem cathartic, and if people hopefully find that, that's a great thing on your part as well. You know, it's helpful.
Well, that's really great to hear. Thank you. I appreciate that.
We did get a lot of that feedback after the gigs, you know, from people that got it out of the live experience, you know, of watching us. So, and obviously back then it was harder to get a direct kind of response from people listening to the records, you know. So, if anything, that's going to be the good thing about re-releasing it as well, you know, is, you know, seeing how it affects people even now, hopefully. I
mean, the tracks on it now, whether they're just good to, you know, dance or headbang or whatever you like to groove to everything, or whether you like to listen. I mean, be it, My Sweet Rose or I Got the Worm, at the end of the day, if they're having fun, that is a good thing. But if it could put any extra dressing on it, that's just, that's a blessing. But to have, it's amazing because you established in 1994 and then 6 years later, album come this album debuts, but also getting yourselves out, like say for example on the Davina McCall show, and obviously doing the live stuff. It you know from doing A to all this and now, it's just, you can tell you've really grafted it. You've really grafted hard at what you do. So from a personal point, everything that has led up to this now, how do you personally feel?
Well, I think we've always been, everyone in the band has always been just extremely serious about music. It's like it really is our lives. And it's funny you say about the sort of graft thing, because I remember, when things were presented to us, like when I met Will, we got like a record deal fairly quickly. It was unusual, but then we also got kind of dropped by that label in really bad circumstances. And most people would have just stopped probably, or done something else. But I don't think, I think.
Well, half the band did stop. Half the band left, basically.
But I think that the two of us were very much like, well, we'll just keep going. I remember being in Phil Hope's office in Anxious, and he said, "What do you want to do? Do you want to?" Because industry wisdom would be to split the band and start again as something
or
new.
Change the name.
And we were like,
a lot of
we're
bands
just going to keep going. And we went from having, and after that point, it's kind of like, just being able to get in a van and go and do gigs and drive 6 to 8 hours to gigs and stuff, and not really have any, all that time. I know I never had any money that whole time. I was completely broke, and I often would find myself with nowhere to live and knocking on my friends' doors and saying, "Hey, can I crash on your sofa for a couple of weeks till I find a new flat or whatever?" But it never occurred to me to do anything else. Just didn't enter my head for a second.
Well, that was probably a way of dealing with it as well, was just to throw ourselves into touring, and we did. We played as many gigs as we possibly could, wherever we could.
Yeah.
For the next 5 years or so, really. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was, we were never afraid, when that gig with Korn was really interesting, because we walked out and like from the second we started playing, people would throw in stuff at us, but there was no way we were going to leave the stage. Just no way.
Yeah.
And other people have sort of said, "Oh, how could you deal with that?" And I was like, "Well, what else are you going to do? Why would you do anything other than stay there?"
You just use it as fuel. You use it as fuel to
don't give up.
Make that even more exciting,
Yeah. And it was a sort of natural thing. I think that a lot of it is just about sort of belief in something. I think from when I was a young teenager and I decided to get into a band, I just said to myself, "This is what I'm going to do." And when we got signed to Warner Brothers early on, I knew that was going to happen, and I didn't think we were going to get dropped by that label. But then the reality kicked in of like, okay, if you want to do this, you've really got to be super committed, and that's kind of what we are, and why we keep doing it, and why we've always played music, together, and we have our own projects going, and it's all about committing to music and being, and when you get to the world of like, we both played with different artists, like Will's plays with Adam Ant, and I played with Adam for a short period and things, but also is when you get to that environment, you've got to be able to go in there and just hold your own and deliver what they need. There's no sort of messing around there. If you can't do it, you're gone. There's no second chances. And you've just got to have that mindset of like, I am going to, and it's all about the audience. It's all about communicating music to an audience. That's what it is. That's, there's no point playing music. If you play music for yourself, just sit at home and do it, because it will be a lot more fun and than getting in a band.
Less hassle, yeah.
A lot less hassle. And you know, it's all about ultimately the relationship between the musicians and the audience, and the audience has got to feel something, and really you're doing it for the audience. So as long as you remember that, then I think you'll be okay.
And is it fun, you know, because you two have been together from the start, doing Rachel Stamp, and you know, is it fun to just carry on, you know, as bandmates, as friends, as you know, like you need each other, like let's do this.
Yeah, no, luckily we get on really well. You know, we are really good friends, you know, and we live quite close to each other.
Yeah.
Dave lives on that side of the sofa, I live on this side of the sofa.
Yeah, there's actually, you can't see, there's actually a bit of tape down the
And
vines.
I think the borough of Islington and Highgate is like right here. So yeah, that helps, obviously, you know. Because a lot of bands probably that make a lot more money than we do out of it, I'm sure, stay together for completely it's never those reasons, you know. And you know, like we were saying, we all do other stuff, so we don't have to do Rachel Stamp, but a big part of it is that we're friends, you know.
Yeah.
So that's like a really big incentive to carry it on, I think.
Yeah.
And when someone wants to re-release your stuff, that's a bonus, you know, really.
Yeah, because the whole thing came about where we have been playing gigs on and off for the last few years, and then Easy Action Records contacted me because they put out a lot of T-Rex and Mark Bolan stuff, and we had recorded a version of Cornwall Destroyers, the T-Rex song that's on Futuristic Dragon. And they initially got in touch to see if they could use that on a T-Rex compilation that they've got coming out. And we just got on really well, and Carlton at the label was really great, and he said, do you want to do some Rachel Stamp stuff? And they were just so enthusiastic. It's really great. You know, you just need, you know, one person who's really enthusiastic is better than having a big label that doesn't care, you know. So. And it's really exciting that, you know, other people are getting excited about this record, and, you know, that it means something to other people, and still means something, 23 years after we released it. It's very exciting.
It's going to be good to have a live feeling it too, well, because you're probably going to have people that saw in 2000s and onwards when you were touring, and now they're bringing, you know, maybe their kids, their own kids, or their friends, or having reunions. So it's going to be nice to have a fresh feeling live, even though live is always fun. But it's just going to be great to here's coming to the gig. It's like, oh, I haven't seen them. You know, it's like it's going to be fun. I mean, from both sides. I mean, if I was, you know, near London, I'd be getting myself a ticket.
Yeah,
in
I think
Wales.
it's going to be good. You know, when we play live, it's very much about, you know, the present day, you know, and that's kind of an interesting thing. Is being, you know, 23 years older than I was when you know we wrote those songs, and you've got to sort of. I think it'd be wrong to try and, you know, recreate a gig from back then. That would not be what we're about. But we do have to play the songs with the integrity with which they were written. So it can be quite a, you know, a strange thing. It is kind of like being in a science fiction film where you've got to you're straddling these two dimensions of, you know, presenting something that people are familiar with from a long time ago, but making it about right now. And it's got to be valid in the moment. You know, it's not. I guess if it was just nostalgia, that would just be quite distressing. I think, you know, it's got to be. If people come to the gig, they're going to get a great 2023 gig. That's what they're going to get. So
23 minutes.
And Will.
Yeah.
And Will, for you as you know, an Islington resident and everything, is it fun to just play at home as well?
Yeah, Islington's quite big. It's a bit of a bus ride to to the O2 Academy from here. But yeah, no, it's very convenient. Yeah. Could almost like carry my amp there, really. So Not quite as
on the
convenient as
double
when I lived
decker.
in King's Cross and I used to play at the Scala, because that was literally like a block away. That was amazing. But yeah, I suppose that's a cool thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always fun to play in London, I think, because even though we're all from different parts of the world, excuse me, it's we are like a London band essentially. This is where the band came together, and, you know. So
And we always that was our biggest audience, really, was in London.
yeah,
Even back then. So
yeah. So it's always
Yeah, London.
because I'm not even from England. I'm from Wales, you know. So London to me is
Hello,
always a really exciting place, and you know. So where are you?
Cardiff.
Sorry, you're in
Cardiff.
Cardiff. Oh wow. Well,
Cardiff. Cardiff.
I was born in Dinas Powys. So.
Oh, that's literally the train station is over by me, and I can just that's the 2 stops from where I am.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, so that's the thing. And I moved to London, but London was always very exciting to me. So
Mm.
I've got a good
London's like
Cardiff
its
story
own.
for you. I almost got electrocuted at Club Evil Bach once.
Oh yeah, a couple of that. It's still there. It's still
Yeah,
there.
before I
still.
moved to London, I was in a band and we were playing Club Evil Bach, and I kept getting these weird electric shocks from the microphone.
Oh, stats.
And the sound
Yeah.
engineer's like, "Put your guitar down now. Just you're gonna
They,
die
I bet they've still got that awful loading as well.
up the stairs."
Like
Yeah.
4 flights of stairs, like kind of what do you call them? Fire escape stairs around the back. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mm.
it's like
Would you like
Warren
to play?
Hartley
Would you like?
music.
Would you like to
Sorry.
play there? Would you like to play there again? You know, especially
Oh,
with the
it was
re-release.
always great though, wasn't it? It was worth the
Yeah.
climb.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be good. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, maybe perhaps later in the year, or maybe when the Oceans of Venus album comes out again, maybe we can do like a tour or something. And it'd be great to play in Cardiff again.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, because it's
Is that
great
the best
to,
place? Where would you say would be the best place for us to play in
Oh,
nowadays?
there's so many. There's a few good venues. There's the Green Rooms. There's the Green Rooms. There's Fuel Rock Club. There's Jack's Aberdare. There's the Dollhouse. There's the Tram Shed. You know, of course, there's the Cardiff International Arena as well, and there's the Students' Union. But there's a lot of venues, and my advice is just get in touch with them of what you feel comfortable with, what you can compromise with, and there you go. But you
Yeah.
know. I can't speak for the entire nation, but I'll say this: Wales will be happy to have you.
Yeah.
Or you
That's
know, play
fantastic.
where Will
yeah.
played last year in the St David's Theatre. That was pretty good as well.
What was that? Well, who played? Sorry.
Will played in the St David's
Oh,
Theatre
Oh, right. Yes.
last year.
Yeah. Actually, I came to the time before that you played with Adam
Yeah.
in St David's. I was at that gig. I was back in Wales that day and played. I went to the gig. I didn't play. Sorry. So yeah.
Yeah, so like I said, there's so many come on, but you know, I'll be happy and so and like I said, it's great to see, you know, even though you've been around, it's nice to introduce new people or people who haven't heard for all. I mean, like bands like you and you mentioned Babylon Zoo or Space having its own, you know, sort of, you know, aesthetic sound, but still get that really good buzz out of it. And you know, to talk to you about the album and to talk to you about, you know, the upcoming gig and how, you know, this lovely conversation we've been having. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm wishing you all the amount of luck and blessing to carry on. And by next year, happy 30 years of this great creation.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
It's a
We're gonna have to
talk
we're
to
gonna
you.
have to tour then. If it's 30 years.
Yeah.
That's a milestone, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's a long
No,
time.
thanks for having us.
But yeah, thank you. We really appreciate it. And,
Oh, thank you, and hope to have all of you or back on the show. But for now, best of luck, viewers out there. There are still tickets available for the O2 Academy Islington. Please check Easy Action Records for excuse me, get my mouth. Hymns for the Strange Children. If you want to get into Rachel Stamp or if you need to out, check out on all platforms, but please get the album.
well, the album is going to. I mean, it's going to be distributed to record stores as well, so people can
Yeah.
should hopefully be able to walk into Spillers Records and buy the album. We
And
hope.
flick through. Oh, that's fun as well. It's when you're
Yeah,
flicking
yeah.
through the record and you just pull it out and go, "What's this?"
And we're
Yeah.
going to have them at the gig as well, aren't we? We're going to be
Yeah,
selling it at the gig.
They can be easy to get to buy.
Yeah, easy
So,
access from Easy
yeah.
Action.
But viewers out there, please check out Rachel Stamp, and thank you both for being on the show. I hope to chat to you again soon.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Take care.
Happy Sunday. And happy Sunday to the viewers out there. This has been the One Take Livecast.